just did a series on the biblical covenant, so we don't have to say maybe a ton here, but I think both of us would agree it's the biblical covenants that form the backbone of scripture, right? They carry this story of redemptive history forward. And so they bring more specificity to who that seed is, right?
Yeah, well, in the biblical world, in the world of the Bible, let's say, and the world around Israel and in Israel, the idea of a covenant was there. It's an agreement enacted between two parties. So people entered into covenant, and people entered into covenant with each other, right? So in marriage, my wife and I were married in June of '04, so 21 years ago, and it was a solemn commitment to be husband and wife until death parts us. People have covenants. In the Bible, you have treaties between equals. You have covenants where a stronger party sets the terms with a weaker party. Basically, if you don't want to get smushed, here's how to behave, and I'm setting all the terms. Or a weaker party coming with his tail between his legs and says, "Look, can we be in covenant? Here's what I'll do,
Yeah.
and you set the terms," kind of thing. And the technical term for that in the ancient Near East is suzerain vassal treaty, where there's the stronger party, the suzerain, and the vassal, the weaker party. But it's amazing that in the Bible, God uses this language for his relationship with his people and his level of commitment with his people. And in covenants in the ancient world, and we get the picture in Genesis 15, but in covenants in the ancient world, you would take animals. If you're having a covenant ceremony, it was called cutting a covenant. That's the language used in the Bible. My Hebrew
Yeah.
students, why is it karat berit? Berit is
Yeah.
covenant and karat is to cut. And
Yeah.
then I get to, I don't struggle with brevity, so then I get to
Yeah.
share with. Here's why it's karat. You don't
Yeah.
understand what
Yeah.
you just asked. But to cut a covenant, and what does that imagery mean? And well, in Genesis 15, Abram took animals and he cut them in half, and he put them half on one side and half on the other. And he had this bloody pathway between animal halves on either side. And in the ancient world, when you entered into covenant with someone, both parties would walk through that bloody path between the halves of animals. And what they're saying with their actions is, if I don't keep the terms of this covenant, may it be done to me as has been done to these animals. And so that's cutting a covenant. It's a solemn binding commitment. But in Genesis, um, Yahweh, or in the Bible, Yahweh is the divine suzerain. But far from being this, it's not just resembling human covenants, because it's a God-centered thing. I have this quote. Let me see if I can find it. Um,
Yeah.
there's Daniel Block. He says, God, the divine suzerain, initiates the covenant. God chooses the covenant partner. God declares the terms. God determines the consequences for the subjects, depending on their responses to him and his revealed will. And God identifies the sign of the covenant. Yahweh's covenant partners are never in a position to negotiate either the terms of the contract or the consequences for fidelity or infidelity. Their only option is to accept or reject the relationship. So there's just this beautiful, God is absolutely committing himself to
Yeah.
his people in a covenant. He's cutting a covenant. And incredibly, it's um, it's Yahweh who goes between the pieces in Genesis 15. But-
Mm.
So you've got these covenants through scripture: creation and Noah, Abraham, Moses/Israel, David, and new covenant. And those are the 6 biblical covenants between Yahweh and his people.